They threw me out of Christmas, at the $8,000 Aspen chalet I paid for. My own family told me I wasn't welcome. I can still hear my father's cold voice, my sister's smirk, my mother's silence. I walked away carrying every ounce of humiliation they meant for me, but I still had one weapon left: the receipt. So I canceled the chalet and watched their perfect holiday burn to ashes. The calls, the begging, the anger, and finally the silence. That's when I knew I'd never beg to belong again. Before I share my story, I want to know you're here with me. Just say "listening" in the comments or let me know where you are. I love seeing how far my story can reach. Sometimes even the smallest connection makes all the difference. Thank you. And now, here's my story. If this story hits you, if you believe voices like mine deserve to be heard, please subscribe to the channel. It's free, but it means everything. My name is Jasper, and this is how betrayal gave me back my freedom. I bought Christmas the way you buy a plane ticket to a life you swear you deserve. It was a Tuesday night in Denver, screens glowing against the dark window, the city lights scattered like fallen sequins on black velvet, and I was deep in Airbnb listings for Aspen. The chalet that stopped me cold had floor-to-ceiling glass looking straight into the Rockies, a stone hearth fat with split logs, and snow packed on the deck rail like whipped cream. $8,000 for the week of Christmas, refundable if I canceled early. I read every line twice: payment schedule, house rules, cancellation deadlines, because I've learned that in my family, love is a story, but receipts are the truth. I clicked book and felt something unclench in my chest. I wasn't buying a vacation, I was buying a seat at a table that always acted like I was the +1. I sent the confirmation to the family group chat with the reservation code, the check-in dates, the host's note about the key box, and a screenshot of the bank transfer for the full $8,000. Then I FaceTimed my dad. Randall appeared in his Boulder kitchen under those perfect pendant lights, tie loosened just enough to look human. Rolex catching the glow. Behind him, the mini putting green through the glass door, a suburban kingdom frozen under white twinkle lights that somehow felt colder than the snow. "Good," he said when I told him. "That's what you should do. Not thank you. Not we appreciate you. Just the sentence a foreman gives a worker when a pallet gets stacked the right way." My mother drifted into frame. Lorraine with her soft cardigan and softer voice, the queen of "I'm only saying this because I love you." "So thoughtful," she murmured, already angling her face like there was a camera to please. I closed the call and opened Instagram. My sister Kayla had already posted a mood board: champagne flutes, ski goggles, a fireplace boomerang, captioned "Aspen Chalet, all set, dad coming through again." The comments were hearts and "your family is goals." I typed a correction and watched it disappear under a fresh slide and a string of heart eyes from people who think aesthetic is a moral virtue. I took screenshots, story frames, timestamps her caption, because I know how history gets revised in my house. I created a folder on my desktop called Aspen Truth and started dropping in every piece of paper, every pixel of proof: the Airbnb email with the reservation code, the refund clause, the bank statement, with the outbound wire, my message to the group chat. Each file felt like a sandbag against a flood I couldn't see yet but could already hear. In Boulder, the house was already trimmed like a catalog, their tree tall enough to make you think tall thoughts, the mantel garlanded just so, the liquor cabinet staged in the reflection like a magazine shoot. In Aspen, the photos promised warmth you could step into. In Denver, my place had the honest mess of a life built by one person: 2 monitors, a laptop dock, a gym bag near the door, the plant I kept alive out of spite. At work the next day, open floor plan whiteboards tattooed with product roadmaps. I let myself imagine a clean version of Christmas. We'd cook something real, not a performance. We'd sit by that fire and laugh, and maybe this time they'd see me. By evening, the outside of my parents' house lit up like a department store window, all LEDs and precision. And I drove past it on my way back to Denver just to feel the heatless glare on my face. A thought I didn't want arrived anyway. In this family, light is something you point at yourself, not something that keeps anyone warm. Back home, I checked my inbox again, reflex, and there it was, the first crack in the glass. Request to add primary contact Randall. No hello. No reason. just the quiet, administrative inching of an eraser across my name. If the truth of who paid could be edited with a form field, what else could they rewrite? I took another screenshot. I saved the email as a PDF. I stared at the photo of that stone fireplace and promised myself that this time I would hold on to the only thing my family respects: control of the story printed in black and white. The email pinged while I was standing in my parents' Boulder kitchen, the air heavy with butter and cinnamon because Lorraine believes food is both apology and alibi. She slid a casserole on the island with that smile that says we're all on the same team as long as the scoreboard is hers. My phone vibrated again. The host had received a request from your family to make Randall the primary contact for convenience and safety. Safety for whom? I excused myself to the patio, the twinkle lights frosting the eaves, and called the number in the signature. I'm the one who paid, I told the host voice even. Keep me primary, please. The rep was polite, cheerful, the way people are when a conflict isn't technically theirs. We can add a secondary contact, she said, but your name will remain first. I wrote down her name, the time, and the ticket number on a notes app, and then emailed it to myself. Call logs are receipts too. An hour later, Randall was at the club in Aspen, plaid arm around a partner I recognized from a headline posting a photo with the caption, "My family deserves the best." Qley commented 3 sparkle emojis and "thanks, Dad," and then reposted his shot to her story like a chant meant to manifest a reality. I screenshotted everything and dropped the files into Aspen Truth under a new subfolder, social. The folder tree was starting to look like a family tree drawn by a paralegal. Back in Denver, I met Miles at our usual coffee spot, the kind with local art on the walls and a barista who knows exactly how much to care. Miles listened without interrupting, fingers wrapped around a mug like he was keeping it from floating off. "Don't argue on the internet," he said. "Don't argue in their kitchen either. Just build the record. People who perform family will always try to perform the facts too. Let the facts have better lighting." He was smiling, but I could see the seriousness behind it. We made a list together on a napkin: Airbnb, confirmations, bank transfers, group chat messages, social posts, call logs. I went home and built it for real: Aspen Truth with subfolders labeled reservation, bank, family, chat, social, calls. I exported the Airbnb booking email as a PDF, saved the cancellation policy, saved a copy of the house rules in case a future argument needed a paragraph number. I took a cleaner screenshot of the wire transfer, redacted the account number, and exported my text to the family thread as a single PDF with timestamps. It felt obsessive, and it felt like breathing. My inbox chimed again. Lorraine had forwarded a thread about the reservation, and in an error that felt like honesty, left me on it. "Let's switch the primary to Randall," she wrote to Qley. "It looks better with his partners." A minute later, Qley replied with a photo suggestion for a holiday gratitude post and a line that made my jaw go slack. "We'll tag Jasper after." After what? After I'd been edited out of the part where the money left my account and into the part where gratitude is performative and reversible. I printed the email to PDF and saved it twice, once locally and once in a cloud folder I'd named with a boring string of numbers because I was done letting pretty words hide ugly intentions. That night, the house in Boulder looked like it was auditioning to be a postcard, and inside the kitchen, Lorraine placed her palm over mine like a soft lid. "It'll be easier for your father if he's the contact," she said, sweet as syrup. "You know how these things go." "I do. I know exactly how these things go." I stepped outside and called the host again, confirmed that no changes had been made to my primary status, and asked that any request to replace me be declined without my written consent. I wrote down the second rep's name, the time, and the promise, sent that to my own email, then moved it into Aspen Truth calls. On the drive back to Denver, the freeway rolled out like a ribbon in the dark, and the mountains were hulks against the sky. In my head, I saw 2 kinds of light: the hard blue-white of LEDs along my parents' roofline, and the soft orange I imagined from that stone fireplace in Aspen. One light is for looking, the other is for living. At a red light, my phone buzzed with a DM from Qley. "Don't make this messy," she wrote. "I need this trip for year-end brand deals. Not a thank you, not a let's figure this out. A business note from someone who has turned family into content." I stared at the message until the car behind me tapped the horn and the light turned green. Back at my apartment, I added her DM to social and closed the laptop, the screen dimming like a stage going dark between acts. Somewhere in Boulder, Randall was practicing telling a room how he provides. Somewhere online, Qley was practicing a smile she could hold for 15 seconds. In my hands, I had a different rehearsal, a record that didn't need applause to be real. I didn't know all the ways they'd try to move me off my own reservation yet. I only knew I could feel the push, already subtle and firm, the kind of pressure that leaves no mark, and yet somehow bruises. I set an alarm to call the host in the morning just to confirm, then lay in the quiet and watch the city lights pulse and fade on my ceiling like distant signals. The last thing I saw before sleep was the subject line flashing again in my mind, primary contact Randall, and the last thing I felt was the certainty that if they could rewrite the paper, they would try to rewrite the person. The living room looked staged for a catalog tree lifted toward the ceiling chandelier, throwing clean light over framed smiles from easier years, the kind of order that pretends to be love. I came in with my box of lights and a wreath already mapping where the warm bulbs would go, how the ribbon would soften the corners of the room. Randall didn't even turn the volume down on the game. "This year is just close family," he said as if announcing a weather report. "You don't need to come." "I am family," I said. My voice surprised me, steady small, as if it knew there was no point in going big. Lorraine set a casserole on the counter and placed a gentle hand on my arm like a sedative. "Your father needs a peaceful Christmas," she said. "Let's not make this harder than it has to be." Qley didn't look up from her phone. Her mouth tilted in that off-camera smile she uses when she knows the cameras aren't far. I carried my box into the garage because there wasn't a place for it in the picture they'd curated. The concrete smelled like holiday candles and cold rubber. The wreath brushed against the side of an old cooler and shed a ring of pine on the floor. It hit me then that I'd bought the most expensive seat in the house and still didn't qualify for an invitation. I stood there a moment longer, breathing like the air had rules. Back inside, I waited for someone to meet me halfway. No one did. I lifted the box again and crossed the living room, the lights burning a little circle into my palm through the cardboard. "I'll get out of your way," I said. No one argued. Outside, the winter sun was white and clean and unfriendly. In the driveway, I set the box down to open the trunk, and my phone lit up with a new email. "Payment method update, request Randall." My name was in the subject line, but the body of the message felt like an eviction notice. I read it twice. Someone had requested to change the card on file for the Aspen reservation to streamline coordination. I could hear Randall's vocabulary and the phrasing make it sound like logistics, not theft. I took a screenshot, then opened voicemail. There was an older message. I hadn't checked his voice, reminding me about a meeting at the club, like we had jobs in the same firm and I'd missed a calendar invite. I saved it to files with the date and the name. I loaded the box into the trunk, sat in the driver's seat, and let the engine warm. Through the windshield, the house looked perfect. Nothing looked hurt or hungry. I thought about the chalet, those windows, that fire, and how I'd imagined us in front of it, my money invisibly smoothing out the rough places between us. Then I pictured a clean black cursor hovering over a button that could return the only power I had left to my own hands. I didn't slam the door. I didn't peel out. I left the driveway like a courtesy, as if yielding the right of way to a stranger. At the end of the street, a blow-up Santa bowed and straightened in the wind, like a man apologizing without meaning it. I drove to the HEB lot because it was big and anonymous, and the signal was strong. I parked under a light pole and opened my laptop on the passenger seat. The family thread pinged with new messages, Qley posting a boomerang of the chandelier, Lorraine asking if I wanted to take leftover casserole. I ignored them and signed into Airbnb. The dashboard loaded to the reservation page. Modify reservation pulsed like a heartbeat. I hovered and felt the weight move, not in my hands but in my chest. I opened the cancellation policy again, read the line about full refunds for early cancellations. I checked the dates, the timestamp on the payment update request, the name on the file. Every detail that had been used to erase me pointed me back to the place where I still existed, the account with my name on it. I closed my eyes and saw the living room, the garage, my box on the concrete. When I opened them, the cursor was already there. I read the policy one more time, then I clicked. Cancel reservation. The confirmation appeared like a lifeguard's whistle, sharp, unavoidable. A second email followed with the kind of language that leaves no room for interpretation. Your booking has been canceled. Your refund is being processed. I refreshed my banking app until the pending credit appeared, the $8,000 sitting there like a door I'd just opened back into my own house. I took screenshots of both emails, exported the pages as PDFs, and dropped them into Aspen Truth with a new folder labeled Refund. Nothing in me celebrated. Relief is quieter than joy. I didn't tell anyone. Silence felt cleaner than any explanation I could offer to people who had already rehearsed their answers. I shut the laptop and let the apartment settle around me, the hum of the fridge, the city's distant sirens, the radiator ticking like a metronome. The phone kept buzzing on the counter. I let it. I made tea. I didn't drink and stood by the window watching snow stall in the streetlights, and then commit to falling. By midnight, the voicemails had stacked themselves into a shape. Randall at first measured. There's some confusion. Call me back so I can fix this, then managerial. You can't just cancel something for the whole family without telling anyone, then angry in the way people get when the story won't bend for them. You made me look ridiculous. Lorraine's number flashed once and left no message. Kayla sent a text that read like a press release written in a hurry. You ruined Christmas. I've already told my followers. Fix it. I screenshotted her message, archived the voicemails to a folder named Randall 31, and labeled them by time. Documentation isn't revenge. It's insurance. At 9 the next morning, someone knocked like they owned the hinges. Lorraine stood there in a sweater the color of a robin's egg, holding a casserole like a peace treaty. She didn't come in until I stepped back. The smell chased her through the door, creamy, familiar, sweet with onions. We just need everything back on track, she said, setting the dish on my counter and taking in the apartment like she was appraising a listing. Your father's reputation at the club. You know how men can be. I do, I said. Better than you think. She pressed her palms together like prayer. If you could restore the booking under your name and add him as the primary, it would spare us all a lot of embarrassment. The words were soft-edged, but the shape underneath them was hard. I'm not putting his name on what I paid for, I said. I'm not putting my name back on something you all insisted I didn't belong to. Her eyes shined theatrical and real at the same time. Don't be unkind, she whispered. Family should be easy. Family should be honest, I said. I didn't raise my voice. I walked the casserole to the fridge and slid it inside because rejection wasn't the point. The point was learning the difference between kindness and compliance. After she left the group chat, lit up with a new banner Kayla had created, Aspen Chalet Christmas 2025. She tagged me in the welcome message like a PR manager looping in a sponsor, and began posting Pinterest perfect images of white slopes, charcuterie boards shaped like wreaths, satin pajamas. Guests were already added: cousins, aunts, 2 of Randall's partners. The narrative moved forward as if there'd been no interruption, as if reality could be reshared into something more convenient. I muted the thread and saved a full-screen recording of its birth, the tags, the timestamps. Randall kept calling. When I finally answered, I put him on speaker and set the phone on the counter beside my notebook. Put it back, he said without preface. You caused a mess. I canceled a reservation I paid for, I said. The mess came from the part where none of you wanted to say that out loud. You're being dramatic, he said. We needed my name on the quote-unquote paperwork because that's how these relationships work. They work for you, I said. They don't work for me. There was a long exhale. You like to make things difficult. No, I said. I like things documented. I wrote down the time of the call and saved it as I spoke. He hung up first. I went back to the laptop and organized the morning's harvest, the confirmation of cancellation, the pending deposit timestamps from the call, screenshots from the new group thread, Lorraine's visit summarized in a note to myself. Underneath the tidy folders was a thought I couldn't quite name yet, that maybe the opposite of being silenced isn't speaking, it's choosing when not to. My quiet wasn't empty, it was directional. It kept me from handing them words they could twist into a rope. Late afternoon, Miles texted, How are you holding up? I told him about the knock the casserole, the new thread like a substitute reality. He sent back a single line. Stay in the facts, not the performance. I breathed easier. The day dulled toward evening and the apartment picked up its old rhythm. The radiator ticked its slow music. Outside, a bus sighed and shouldered into a stop. My phone buzzed again and I almost ignored it, but the subject line caught my eye, unusual activity alert card ending. The bank had flagged an attempt to add a new card to an existing lodging account. The requester's name was Randall. The email was brisk and neutral decline confirmed account secured. My heart did the opposite of race. It steadied. I forwarded the notice to myself and filed it in Aspen Truth Bank with the kind of care you use to put away an heirloom. Then I closed the laptop, stood at the window, and watched Denver turn itself on one room at a time, one person at a time, each light answering the dark on its own terms. I didn't need to say anything. The ledger was speaking. The call from the bank came just after dawn, when Denver was still shaking off the frost, and the city had that early hush that makes you think nothing bad can happen yet. A woman on the line confirmed my name, then asked if I had authorized a new card to be added to my lodging account. I hadn't. She read the request back, Randall's name, his number, his attempt to slide himself into the space I had already canceled. I told her it was unauthorized and she marked it as fraud. She walked me through, resetting every password, freezing the card, locking down the account. My coffee went cold while she talked. When the line finally cut, the silence in the room felt tighter, more watchful. I sat there with the screen glowing tabs multiplying as I pulled every alert and notification into one place. Lorraine still had an old secondary card, something I'd forgotten about because I'd tried to be generous when they said it was just for emergencies. I closed that door too. One more lock turned, one more file added to the fortress I was building. Aspen Truth had grown into a monument on my desktop, each folder named, dated, fortified with evidence. By mid-morning, the group chat was buzzing with messages I didn't open, but the previews told me enough. Qley posting pictures of holiday charcuterie boards, Randall sending links to ski rentals, Lorraine asking about menus. The performance was still going, even with the set dismantled. I added screenshots of the previews to the social folder, a kind of theater review no one else had written. Later at the cafe with Miles, the clatter of milk pitchers and ceramic cups around us, I laid everything out. Bank reports, screenshots, the fraud notice. He leaned in, elbows on the table, listening without trying to fix it. Don't fight them on their stage, he said. Let the paper talk. Build the file until it's undeniable. Then you decide where to drop it. His calm steadied me. He was right. Words can be twisted, but records hold their own spine. That night, scrolling with the sound off, I found Kayla's new upload. A TikTok with her voice pitched sweet but brittle, telling her audience she had a toxic brother who sabotaged family Christmas. In the mirror behind her, barely in frame, I caught the reflection of Randall on the phone, muttering about cards and accounts. She hadn't even noticed. I saved the whole clip to Aspen Truth video, labeling it Qley, Toxic Confession. Proof isn't always what people intend to give you. The next call was from Aunt Clara. Her voice didn't bother with prelude. Is it true, Jasper? They cut you out of Christmas, I told her everything, and there was no pause, no hedging, just a sigh sharp enough to slice through my own. Then I'll tell them, she said. I'll tell the cousins, the aunts, the uncles. They should know what kind of family they're applauding. For the first time, I wasn't carrying the whole weight alone. Before I shut the laptop, one last check of my inbox turned up a new log from Airbnb, a detail buried in the account settings. Lorraine had requested that the contact number be switched to Randall weeks ago while the booking was still alive. I downloaded the file, stamped it with the date, saved it twice. My apartment hummed like a server room, the folders stacking higher, each artifact of their betrayal polished into a piece of armor. Betrayal doesn't just cut once. It keeps looking for angles. But now for the first time I felt a different current running under it. Not just defense, strategy. Proof waiting for the right stage lights. That night, an envelope slid under my door. Thick paper, my name in Randall's handwriting, the kind of cursive you learn at a private school. An invitation to dinner at their house. Words about talking things through, restoring order, setting the record straight. It smelled like bait. I left it on the counter unopened for a long time until the silence made me reach for it. Inside the script was clear. Come back, fix this. Let us rebuild the image. I looked at the file tree on my screen, then at the letter in my hand. The choice wasn't between going or not going. It was between going as their scapegoat or going as myself. The night of the dinner, the house glowed like a stage. Cars lined the curb, including one I recognized from a partner Randall bragged about. For something labeled private, it looked awfully public. I rang the bell anyway. Lorraine opened the door in pearls and soft perfume, her smile stretched just wide enough. "I made your favorite," she said, ushering me in. The table gleamed under the chandelier silverware, aligned like soldiers. Qley was already broadcasting. Her phone propped against a vase red light, blinking her voice syrupy for an audience somewhere else. "Family dinner tonight," she chirped, then lowered the tone when she looked at me. Randall poured wine with the same deliberation he used to sign deals. "You can fix this, son," he said. "Book the chalet again, this time under my name. It's the only way to put this behind us. It's the only way to be family." I poured myself a glass slow, let the silence work. Qley swung her camera across the room and the lens landed on me. She captioned it, "Drama ends tonight." I smiled into the glass. Randall slid a printed email across the table, his name neatly listed as primary contact. The paper looked official enough, but the formatting was off, the fonts mismatched. I took out my phone under the table, snapped a photo, and set it aside. Lorraine leaned in voice, dropping to the soft cadence she reserved for prayers and ultimatums. "Your father's face is on the line," she said. "I'm begging you for me just this once. Do this for the family's honor." My thumb pressed record without a sound. Qley, not content with staging, blurted too much into her live stream. "If he won't, we'll just say he ruined it from the start." The words hung in the air longer than she realized. The comments began to scroll faster, people clipping the feed before she killed it. I had the capture saved before she'd even locked her phone. Randall's voice rose. Lorraine's eyes watered, Qley's lips tightened. Mine stayed steady. I gathered the photo of the fake email, the audio of Lorraine's plea, the video of Qley's slip, and uploaded them to the drive. A second copy went to a cloud account they couldn't touch. I looked around the table at the family that had cut me out of Christmas, but couldn't stop needing what I held. They thought they had lured me into a corner. Instead, I was leaving with every angle recorded, every move documented. By the time dessert appeared, I was already planning my exit. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Aunt Clara's text glowed on the screen. The anniversary party in Aspen. "Everyone will be there. That's where you show them." I set down my fork, let the chandelier light hit the glass of wine in my hand, and nodded once. The stage was almost ready. The hall in Aspen looked like a page torn from a glossy magazine. A Christmas tree climbed toward the ceiling ornaments, catching every beam of the chandelier. Jazz trickled from the speakers, plates of turkey and pumpkin pie lined the tables. Randall's partners from the golf club shook hands near the bar, while Qley posed for a phone angled discreetly by one of her followers. The whole room gleamed with the kind of polish my family prized above all else. Qley took center stage first, her voice carrying just enough tremor to pass for sincerity. "We almost lost Christmas this year," she told the guests. "My brother, he just couldn't handle it. Dad and I had to step in to save the trip." Randall nodded gravely, a patriarch, lending weight to his chosen narrative. Lorraine dabbed her eyes with a napkin, offering the kind of quiet sorrow that draws sympathy without words. I let them speak. I let the room hum with their version of the story. Then I stepped forward, laptop under my arm. The murmur shifted, eyes turning as I connected to the projector on the wall. The first slide appeared, the original Airbnb confirmation, my name attached to the payment, the $8,000 wire drawn from my account. "This," I said, my voice steady, "is what really happened." The slides clicked forward like a judge's gavel. The cancellation email time-stamped with the refund documented back into my account. The fraud alert from my bank noting Randall's attempt to add his card. Qley's livestream where her own voice admitted they would pin the blame on me. Lorraine's recorded plea at the dinner table begging me to protect Randall's reputation. Randall surged to his feet, pointing a finger at me. "These are fabricated," he barked. But I was ready. With a few keystrokes, I opened my bank account live on the projector, showing the transactions in real time. The evidence glowed under the chandelier, impossible to deny. Kayla's voice broke as she shouted, "He edited that clip." Yet one of her own friends pulled up a phone, replaying the live stream that had already spread through her followers. The crowd gasped. The screen showed her exact words, and silence fell harder than any denial she could offer. Lorraine dropped her napkin and pressed her hands together. "Please, Jasper, stop," she whispered. But Aunt Clara rose from her chair, voice cutting through the heavy air. "He's telling the truth. He told me from the start, and you all ignored him." The room fractured into whispers. Randall's partners exchanged glances, the edges of doubt already forming. A group of Kayla's friends pulled out their phones, unfollowing her right there in front of her. The glittering hall suddenly looked less like a celebration and more like a stage stripped of its illusions. I closed the laptop, the echo of the final slide lingering behind me. I didn't raise my voice or wait for applause. I simply walked out, head-high snow spilling from the sky outside. Each flake caught the amber streetlight, reflecting it back at me like confirmation. For the first time, the light was mine. As I stepped into the night, my phone buzzed in my pocket. A message from Miles lit the screen. "Denver rooftop bar is waiting to celebrate you." Fallout came fast. Within a week, Randall's big deal collapsed, partners citing concerns about transparency. The whispers from Aspen had traveled faster than any defense he could muster. Kayla's follower count dropped by the thousands, the comment sections branding her a fraud. Her carefully built image unraveling with each screenshot passed around. Lorraine stayed quiet, casseroles no longer appearing at my door, her silence heavier than any of her words had ever been. Meanwhile, my own life shifted into focus. Aunt Clara's invitation to her Super Bowl party in Fort Collins sat warm in my inbox, the kind of casual welcome that didn't need conditions. Miles popped a bottle of champagne on a rooftop in Denver, friends cheering as he toasted my promotion and a new project I'd taken on with his startup. For once, I didn't feel like a guest clinging to the edges of someone else's gathering. I belonged exactly where I stood. My new apartment overlooked the Rockies' glass walls, framing the mountains like an honest mural. At night, the city lit itself piece by piece, lights in office towers, headlights sliding along streets, windows glowing against the dark. I'd stand there, a glass in my hand, and think I wasn't excluded from Christmas. I chose to end the performance, and in doing so, I stepped out of the cage they had built for me. One evening, a message arrived from someone I hadn't expected, an old friend of Kayla's. "You did the right thing," it read. "She's been faking it too long." It was a simple line, but it landed like a stamp of validation from outside my circle, proof that truth had a longer reach than lies. A week later, at a cafe downtown, I spotted Randall across the room. He held his cup too tightly, eyes darting anywhere but toward me. For the first time in my life, he avoided my gaze. The power had shifted, not because I had taken it, but because he had surrendered it by chasing an image too fragile to hold. The Aspen Chalet had vanished into memory, a stage dismantled after the play was over. In its place stood the lights of Denver, unpolished, alive, real. That light wasn't for show. It was for living. I looked at the folders on my laptop one last time, the files that had once felt like my lifeline. Aspen, truth, bank, social, calls. They were no longer shields, they were history. Proof that I had endured, and proof that I had chosen something better. I understood now, value doesn't come from the approval of people who refuse to see you. It comes from the freedom to define yourself without them. That is the real American dream, not the perfect family portrait, not the chalet on the mountain, but the right to walk away from false warmth and stand in the glow of your own life. And in that glow, with Denver spread out beneath me, I finally felt free.